Don't even think about moving to Idaho until you know the whole truth about my home state, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I can't avoid talking about the ugly today because it's late August and we're still having record-breaking temperatures. It may not be as hot in Idaho today as it is in, say, Arizona, where they're baking bread in mailboxes and scraping melted asphalt off of their shoes, but it's a lot hotter here than it was when I was a kid growing up in the Boise area. We've been breaking high temperature records over and over the last couple of years. We'll have many days in July and even August of well over 100 degrees. And I know this isn't the same in many other parts of the country. But when I was a kid, our home didn't even have air conditioning. In fact, most Idahoans didn't have AC in their homes. Nowadays, you'll spend a really miserable Idaho summer if you don't have air conditioning. I mean, seriously, it's a health risk to not have AC in the summers now, especially if you're elderly or pregnant or have chronic health problems. And wildfires and wildfire smoke have become a way of life here, as they have throughout the West. Even as I film this video, there's a heavy pall of smoke over the Boise area caused by a couple of wildfires burning in the mountains. We also get a lot of smoke from neighboring states and even from Canada. Sometimes in the summer and fall, it feels like all the smoke in the West is headed straight for Idaho, even if we don't have any fires of our own. On the other hand, we do have far better mosquito control than we did when I was a kid 50-some years ago. Mosquitoes were the bane of every Idaho kid's spring, summer, and fall, as we spent every waking minute playing outdoors and getting bitten by bugs. I even remember waking up in the morning with one or even both eyes swollen shut from mosquito bites. And boy, was it hard to go to school when both eyes were swollen shut. But we've had effective mosquito control programs throughout the more populated parts of Idaho for decades now. And it's a good thing that we do, as West Nile has arrived here just as it has in most of the U.S. Truthfully, I can't remember the last time I had a mosquito bite. I'm not saying we don't have mosquitoes, but they're controlled pretty well here in the Boise metro area. I'm in Meridian, just outside of Boise. But go up in the mountains and you will definitely have to fight off mosquitoes. By the way, if this info is helpful, please give this video a thumbs up or leave a comment for me. I'll be sure to answer. So what else can be considered bad about Idaho? Hard for me to say because I love my home state, but winters can seem harsh if you're from the warmer parts of the U.S. The Boise area, generally speaking, has pretty mild winter weather, with seldom more than a couple of inches of snow at any one time and only a few days of daytime below freezing weather. But there are big exceptions to that rule, like the Snowmageddon winter of 2016 and 2017. We had 3 feet of snow on the ground, temperatures below freezing for 2 or 3 months in a row. It was really miserable. That's a winter most of us would like to forget. It was pretty ugly. We reached the point where there was no place to put the snow that we were constantly shoveling off our sidewalks and driveways, or which the various county road departments plowed off the streets. The road departments were incredibly overworked during Snowmageddon, and they had to prioritize roads for snow removal, much to the displeasure of many people. This meant many residential subdivisions had to band together to pay for private snow removal. It was so cold that we had ice form inside the windows of our home. Condensation from the warmer air inside the house was freezing as soon as it touched the very cold window panes. And this is a new house I live in. I'm kind of glad we don't have that kind of winter very often. On the upside though, we do have very reasonable utility rates here, especially if your home uses natural gas for the furnace. I think my highest natural gas bill during Snowmageddon was about $200 for the month of January. Ugly stuff aside, I should mention more good stuff about Idaho. After all, I'm a realtor here with John L. Scott Real Estate, so I can't just talk about the downside of Idaho living. In my opinion, you can't find a more beautiful place than Idaho. With more than 60% of our state being public lands, including 40% national forests, Idaho has varied, gorgeous natural recreation areas everywhere you turn. From crazy landscapes like craters of the moon, where the NASA astronauts rehearsed for the moon landing, to the tallest sand dune in North America, world-famous ski areas, ancient wilderness that has seldom seen human visitors, Idaho has it all. We've got wolves and bears, mountain goats, cougar, elk, even urban coyotes that jostle for residential space with skunks, raccoons, and even rattlesnakes. We've got fishing, hunting, skiing, soaking in hot springs, wakeboarding, windsurfing, and truly terrifying mountains for dedicated climbers. Mountains that are some of the most beautiful in the entire United States. We're also one of the most sparsely populated states, even with all the new people we've had moving in. We still have a lot more land than we have people. Now, if you want to see Idahoans get mad, pollute or litter. That bothers us a lot. We get mad easily when people abuse our beautiful natural environment. So if you come to Idaho, take care of the environment. Another thing some people consider to be bad is our lack of urban amenities relative to really big cities like New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles. For example, although we do have a lot of great local restaurants, we're unlikely to ever have 5 or 6 James Beard Award winners within 10 miles of each other. We have nice little museums and art galleries throughout the state, but we'll probably never have a major retrospective of Vincent van Gogh in Idaho. We get some well-known musicians playing here from time to time, but again, Taylor Swift, Bruce Springsteen, Blake Shelton, they're probably going to give Idaho a pass. The Boise airport is growing by leaps and bounds, but we still don't have many direct connections from Boise, especially to cities on the East Coast, and definitely not to international locations. Idaho's urban corridor has good medical care, but every now and then someone has to go out of state for truly specialized treatment. It's all part of living in a big, sparsely populated state that is still mostly rural and agricultural. And of course, that also means we don't usually have anything like a big city traffic jam or 12-lane freeways or the constant sound of emergency sirens in the downtown area. So there are definitely trade-offs between true urban living and Idaho's relatively rural lifestyle, even in Boise. For many people coming from coastal states, Idaho is very affordable. Even our housing can seem affordable to those folks, although to native Idahoans, housing costs feel like they spiraled out of control, with both home prices and rents going up a lot over the last decade. Our state income tax and property taxes are low in comparison to many areas of the U.S. Everything is relative, of course. I've heard a lot of folks from more expensive states complain that the cost of basic services like lawn care, tailoring, handyman work, carpentry is more in Idaho than they paid back in their home state. A general shortage of skilled labor in certain jobs is probably the reason for this. That and the demand for services that's been created by the influx of newcomers to our major urban areas. And gasoline prices in Idaho have always been higher than in other parts of the country, that we're used to it. I would say that one of the ugly things about Idaho is a relatively limited range of employment opportunities. Our unemployment rate is low, but we may not have your specific job specialty, and if we do, it probably doesn't pay as well. Idaho's wages are relatively low compared to many parts of the U.S. Our jobs tend to be in agriculture, tech, forestry, services, including healthcare. But for those who can work remotely, Idaho can be an incredibly good place to live, very good value as a place to live. Obviously, I love my home state. I wouldn't live anywhere else. So the good outweighs the bad and the ugly for me. I do encourage anyone thinking of a move to Idaho to do your research before making the leap. It's not for everyone, but for me, it's the best place to be. For more on Idaho living, check out this next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.